Today I'm here to talk about Airflow as an AI agents toolkit. Like this is the brainchild of Pavan Kumar. He's a technical lead at Talent. He's an Airflow committer and ASF member, but unfortunately, he was not able to come over here due to US visa issues right now. So I'm mainly presenting his work. I'm Kaxil Naik. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the senior engineering director at Astronomer and an Airflow committer and PMC member. So let's get started. So this is Pavan's problem right now. He needs to spend 24 plus hours with him and his team when any schema changes. So I'll explain a lot of use cases. So all of this will make sense. So just bear with me for a moment. So this is how long it takes to handle a single schema change for Pavan's environment. And this happens at least 2 to 3 times a week. So here's Pavan's environment for a leading credit provider in the UK. They have hundreds of client feeds coming to S3 and GCS with different formats, different schema changes. With different formats, Parquet, CSV, JSON. The schema changes very, very frequently. There's a schema diff, of course, and the data is spread across multiple clouds. They work with this leading credit provider, so they are restricted. They cannot centralize all the data in a single cloud. And each consumer, like these are the data producers and data sources. Now, on the consumer end, each consumer has tables downstream. Those could be Postgres, Iceberg, Glue, again, different sort of destination, different formats, and any drift, any schema drift in upstream is going to impact the downstream consumers. A recent example, they added like one of the data producers added email ID and phone number as column that showed up, and one of the consumers who used Glue, like their pipeline broke. So what happens? And this is a very frustrating problem, right? And one they face on a regular basis. So Pavan came up with this prototype, and I'll let him explain in the video with a solution using AI, of course. So let's see how he handles this.
Example tag here. So where you see here, I have a asset here, the asset watcher, where asset watcher is monitoring a queue, where the queue contains all the feed file information, and my DAG is dependent on this asset. So if you see my LLM schema compare operator, what it is doing is basically it is taking two data sources. One is my downstream data source that is coming from S3. Another one is upstream data source that is already in the that's already in Postgres table. So what I'm giving a
just a point of clarification, when Pavan mentions upstream, it's actually the data consumers, and when he mentions downstream, it's the producers.
On to the LLM is right. Identify any addition or removal, any columns are removed or added from the downstream, and generate migration queries for those breaking changes. When the column is removed, it definitely must be breaking change. So we are asking that. And once it generates, there is a approval operator. So as you all are aware of, 3.1 released with the human in the loop operator. So yeah. And with that, you can review changes, which is LLM suggested change, which are LLM suggested changes with the help of approval operator, review and approve it, and then run your migration. So overall, three tasks. One is to generate your migration queries based on your table schemas and approve it and execute it, right? So let's see in action this one. I'll just enable my DAG here. So it should pick up the changes. So once that it should pick up, yeah. So the changes, the DAG started running. I'll just open this one. So the customer data feed is 3. It's currently, yeah, it is completed running, and it is asking for approval. All right, you see here our customer data S3 feed task, LLM schema compare operator detected two changes. So the downstream table has emails and phone number, but not in the upstream table. So that it suggested two parties, you need to run this one to migrate in the upstream table, right? So if once you are happy with this, you can simply approve this one and let the other task migrate, use these two queries and migrate, apply those changes. Let me approve this one. So yeah, once it is approved, then it should run. Yeah, so your migration is run, and let's go back and see in action. So uh, see, you'll see here, right? So I have email and phone number is available. So previously in the first, I don't have anything. Now I have email and phone number. Now the changes are applied. Let's see, there are other plans we have in this. Where, so once LLM is generated here, right, the changes, and you are coming here and approving. So there are plans to modify these changes, and if we give you option to modify these changes, if you think something is not right, and you can modify and proceed. So that's also we are planning to build that capability. And coming to here, if you see these logs I just printed here, we are explicitly setting some of the note to the LLMs, don't generate any DDL statements that drops delete data, whatever it's right. So those kind of things we are adding extra notes to the LLMs if it mistakenly generates anything, right?
So why is this a big problem for Pawan, and why is he trying to solve it with AI? Like whenever things break for him, like they spend hours to debug this, because could could have been anything. They need to compare schema across multiple tables, multiple databases for maybe various customers, and they need to compare schema across not just like database, across files and database. Like the files could be in S3, could be in GCS, could be anywhere. Um, and they need to follow change order process. It's not like they can just push deck changes as they want. They need to get an approval for them. There's some red tape because, of course, a leading credit provider, right? It cannot just change things. They need to then fix it. And if there were data loss between, let's say, if it was an hourly job, then they need to backfill that data and then notify all the customers that were impacted by one of the producers. So that's why it takes like 24 plus hours for him and his team of 5 people. So this is a big problem. And if they solve this, and they have this prototype and plan to use it. So let's see what impact it will make. Cool. And there are producers and consumers, but whenever the data arise, you don't just push to consumers. You do your own data quality checks, which are probably contracts between the producer and consumer and Pavan's team. So he has a demo for the data quality checks that he has manually and that he plans to automate with AI as well.
This LLM operator helps you to generate queries for your data quality on your data set and run those queries on your data set, and it gives the results, right? So this is also an example for us where we are leveraging these things to work out, and that's why we are building this one. And so our feed files are coming to S3 here, and there are hundreds of clients. They send files, they feed files, and it comes to S3. And you need to generate basically those data quality results, and once you are happy with that, generally we'll go further downstream process, right? If there is no data quality, if the data quality is not up to the mark, or not satisfied based on our requirements, so there is no point of processing that data set into your downstream, into your upstream tables, or further processing, right? So data quality is a key thing for everyone today is on the data to validate and see whether the data meets your requirement, right? So this example, you will see I have a S3 data source, and LLM data quality operator, where I'm giving a data source as input. You can provide as many data sources as here. And what I'm telling to the LLM, the prompt is generate data quality checks for the following requirements, right? So I'm asking three data quality rules: find the count of records from the ID column and age column, and duplicate emails in the column. Those are the data quality I'm asking. So right now we have given prompt, right? So there is a plan for another plan where we want to make it this more generic way. Like you provide your two table schemas, and you can ask your LLM to generate the data quality on the new columns. So let's say your downstream table added your downstream table added new column, and your upstream upstream one doesn't have those columns, and you can generate these two columns. You can generate basically data point on those new columns and see the results. And if you're happy, then proceed, right? So once your LLM data quality operator produces your results, and you can review and approve and run your further task. Okay, so let's run this one. We'll see in action. So I just triggered this one, and the customer data set it generates queries, and internally it generates the queries, and it runs on the IO data set. And once it is run completed, and it will ask you to the action, right? See, I have data quality results now available for review. I have three data quality rules. So 1, 2 are positive, and third one is failed because I have duplicate emails, right? And if it is fine, I can approve this one, and I can proceed further. If this check is also fine for email account file, then I can proceed, or you can reject this one. So underlying, we are using DataFusion here, and to connect to the S3 storage, and get those data sets, and get the schema or whatever based on your user prompt.
But yeah, this is some of the really good work that he has done, and that I think can be extended a lot. So, but let's look at the before and after. What was currently taking 24 hours for him and his team, like manual schema comparison, change order approval, code changes, testing, debugging, backfills. Like for him, this automatically detects, like he showed one example, but imagine like there are 10 data producers that have some schema change in their feeds, and that impacts like hundreds and thousands of the consumers. That is going to not just take 24 plus hours, that's probably going to take you a couple of days, at the very least few days. So he's using Apache DataFusion, more on it in a bit, and the LLM operators that he has created. Human oversight, like you saw him, using like human in the loop that was released in 3.1, that is critical, cross-cloud validation, and business-friendly explanations. Now, question for you guys. This schema change sounds common to me and him and probably a few folks I talked to, but does this problem resonate with you folks? I see some nods. Okay, some nods. So definitely a problem worth solving. And would this sort of a solution work for you? Okay, good, good. Cool. So now how does this work? I wanted to show, first of all, it works so that there's no question about that. Now let's go into the details. The LLM operators are not just wrapping things into a prompt and sending to LLM. There are more things going under the hood. And you all know that one important thing for LLM is the context you provide. So for at least the LLM operator that Pavan showed, for SQL operations, it extracts the database type and the version. For example, it might be using Postgres 15.2. It extracts all the schema using the Airflow internals. We have something called DB API hook, which is a common interface to interact with any database, any database type, if you have specified it in connection, or take it from assets. So currently assets in Airflow are pretty opaque. You can provide a name or URI, but what Pavan is proposing over here is, what if asset can be a lot more than just an opaque object? What if you can define your schema and probably a lot more metadata within the asset object itself? Then the LLM operators could get the schema from there as well. That is like, my expected schema is here. If schema changes, you take care of that. Sample data, like LLMs will work really well if you pass on some examples. So in this case, the operator that he has built gets some of these rows using the DP API hook and runs a query to fetch the first X number of rows and then passes out to LLM. Built-in safety rules, like do not use drop statement. Please don't. No deleting without any well statements. Similar for a file, you'll see different file formats, like send the format of the file, the storage type, file size, row count estimates, and the schema information for files as well, if you are using Iceberg. And partitioning structure, like how is your data partitions in S3 and GCS. Now, with anything LLM, the first question is, okay, great, he's using LLM to run queries or to generate queries at this point, but what are the safety mechanisms that he already has? So safety layers that he's exploring, apart from the drop and delete that we just talked about, human in the loop as a separate operator that you could use, or part of the same operator itself. So you can imagine LLM schema change operator, whatever name you can put in, that can detect that this asset is probably critical to your operation or contains sensitive data and can require some sort of human in the loop operation from the users. Query validation, like there will be some parsing and analyzing. You don't just trust the SQL query generated by an LLM to pass on to DB API hook. Asset sensitivity, like if your assets contain PII data, phone numbers, email ID for some, then it should require approval. So if you define like that sensitivity on asset itself, and even if you have 10 DAGs, multiple tasks, all using the same operator, it should by default require some approval rather than going through across. So you should not need to have a separate approval operator for it. So this is still work in progress, like you can see at the emoji. Audit logging, all the AI decisions are tracked separately and read only by default. We don't want AI touching our prod databases. So Pavan showed Apache DataFusion. What is DataFusion? It's a unified query engine that works across object storage as well as databases. So you can imagine you can write a same query to access something in S3 or something in Postgres. It can work on multiple formats: JSON, CSV, Iceberg, Delta Lake. Pavan ran this at his place and he was able to get some fantastic results, like 50 million records in 14 seconds with join operations, group by, and like those sort of operations. He was able to like use DataFusion, and he was very, very happy that he probably talked to like most of the PMC members about it. But DataFusion is for reading only. For all the write operations that we will use the operators or within the dev, we'll use some sort of DB API hook or its methods on DB API hook. The current approach that he has, at least as of now, are specialized operators. So LLM schema compare operator for schema drift, LLM data quality operator for validation, LLM file analysis operator for analyzing your file, the data within your file, and more to come for interaction with APIs. Like these are just file and DB, but I'm pretty sure you are interacting with a lot of APIs. And you might ask why, like, isn't this going to create explosion of operators, and why not just a single LLM operator? There's a reason, at least that's what we think. The specialized operator means clear intent, better context for LLM. So if I have LLM schema operator, I can provide a better prompt to the LLM, provide better context to it around the database versions. It will definitely be more accurate than a generic operator. Well, then you lose type safety as well. Like what arguments should I pass as a DAG author and task author? That you will lose. And focus documentation. How do I explain in Airflow docs that, okay, this is an LLM operator you can use for file, DBA, for everything. And this is how, like, the documentation will keep on growing and growing. So our current stance is the separate operators are fine. We are exploring, that said, we are exploring a unified LLM operator, but with resource adapters, and those will probably be in parallel. Now, nothing here I say is set in stone. This is an exploratory work. So if some of you have any ideas or have experience, you can come up and say, no, this is a bad idea. You should probably do this. I'm all ears. We are figuring out the right abstraction, and your feedback will be very, very helpful. So I mentioned something about assets, right? Like, what if assets could be powerful? So this is what we think, that maybe you can pass schema to assets, phone numbers, like you can mark asset as sensitive. You can define how to access this asset. Okay, this is an asset. You can access it using a URI, so you know where to access it. Now, how? Using a connection. You can pass in like the asset type, data format, schema. You can define metadata for better AI context. So that's not currently in the demo or in the example, but you can imagine providing descriptions about like what is the data. It's a customer data, but what does that mean? So you can provide a proper description saying this is a customer data or a sales data for X, Y, and Z. That context will help your LLM provide or create better queries, and provide some example queries as well if you want. In the future, we plan to see if we can add more validations within the asset itself, like to validate anything on this asset. You can provide a list of things like there should not be any nulls or whatever. Like there could be various different things, but that will all be on an asset object, which will make asset a lot more richer, a lot more powerful than it is today. And statistics, it could be like an estimated rows count. This is just an example. Now, I need to speak as an Airflow PMC member, not Pavan's advocate anymore. So this is good. His demo is good. His idea is good. But what do I think from the Airflow PMC perspective? I'm one of the PMC member. I have a lot more PMC members here. So what I want with this, like any LLM operators that we create should abide by certain principles. It should be deterministic. If it is not deterministic, and if LLMs are generating tasks on the fly, that is not what we want. We don't want it to be very predictable, so it's easy to review, it is easy to test, it is easy to debug when things go wrong. It should be observable, lineage, like what is LLM doing, how the things are generated, should be logging, monitoring, all the nice stuffs. It should be reliable, of course, and it should not be breaking any existing workflows. So that's why the LLM operators currently are confined to a task. So leveraging an LLM is just one task in the predictable pipeline. We are not saying, yeah, LLM generate different tasks, change the structure midway. No. Just LLM has some guardrails here. Yeah, we are absolutely not building AI that changes the structure, at least now. Who knows? I will never say never. Things are changing so rapidly. So yeah, what we're not building, AI that changes DAG structure, dynamic pipeline generation, or AI that is making any architectural decisions, or AI that is touching their production system. Here, the separation of concern is there. AI is generating things, and those things are being run using the existing Airflow constructs like DB API hook, and in future object storage path and DataFusion and stuff, but that is run as part of like Airflow's native construct, not by LLM. And there is human oversight at critical points. So implementation reality checks, right? If we proceed, like I am really waiting to hear what you guys think after the talk. If we proceed and this is worth building, then phase one will always be an experimental provider. We don't want to touch core right now. We will create a separate provider so it does not break anything. We'll iterate faster, so it will be 0.x releases. We'll iterate faster on this. get some community feedback, iteration on guardrails that we want to place on it, then create a production ready provider, and then integrate it with core. So all the asset stuff, niceties that I showed, right? That might be bound to change. So we don't want to make any changes to asset as of yet, but assets have like it accepts metadata, it accepts a key value pair. So you can add any of those things as a key value pairs right now anyway. So, but if there's a lot of demand and if there's a lot of merit to getting all those information to assets, then we will do that as the last phase. And this could take multiple months to get right, but that's fine. We want to ensure this goes right. So a big question, should Airflow have production ready AI operators? I'm pretty sure you are all using AI some way or the other with or without Airflow. So should it? Of course. At least my answer is of course. Why not? What do you see? So what we need from you, is this really solving the problem? I saw some nods, so I assume yes. But what safety mechanisms are non-negotiable for you guys? Like, what would you say that I'm not using this in production until it has X, Y, and Z? I want to know that X, Y, and Z. How should we handle any other AI errors and edge cases? So if you guys have any experience with that or have strong opinions on that, please talk. And right balance between intelligence and predictability. So right now, this pendulum, we can think that we are adding on the sides of predictability a lot more, but over time things might change and we might say, okay, let's provide users option to have more intelligence and lose a little bit on predictability. Might happen. Should this be a provider or core feature? I told you my opinion, but of course willing to hear of what you folks think. And future possibilities. Like there are endless possibilities now that we have this basic prototype. We can, and this is something that I'm really, really excited about. I was telling Vikram this morning that I'm really excited about this, which is Airflow is very popular today because it has like thousands of integrations. What if we can expose all those hooks as tools to AI agent? So something like this. What if there is a separate operator or a class that says AI task? You can provide a generic objective to it, but you can say, okay, available hooks are Jira, Slack, and SMTP. Now, where this Jira, Slack, SMTP coming from? It is coming from the existing hooks, existing Airflow providers. We have Jira provider, Slack provider, SMTP provider. How do you wire all of them together? I don't think it's that big of a task. I think we can expose all the existing providers to AI in some way. And it could be something like this. We could probably have some sort of a mixing where what does an AI need? It needs to know what are the capabilities of this hook. And hook can have multiple methods. So you can say, okay, what can you do? Provide usage examples to it. Get some schema information about files, about databases, about the Slack hook, for example. It could be something different. So this is something that I was thinking. You can validate AI operations. So if I can get this mix in with all the existing hook, like DB API hooks and Slack and whatnot, then it opens up a possibility of using AI with any of this hook. Wild idea, but might work, should work. Could AI detected issues become deterministic checks in future runs? So let's say a pipeline ran, it found an issue. Should this then create a PR somehow? Currently, we have Git bundles. So you can, in theory, say, if you have GitHub connection, could you just create a pull request using that connection with the new data quality check that the LLM operator found? This is a duplicate point, but it's the same thing. There will be double approval with a human in the loop and this PR, but one of them is always going to be run by LLM. The second will be let LLM find it for the first time and that it makes its way to our production system so that checks become codified in a way. Multi-agent validation. might be better. Like, what if a SQL query is generated, and rather than us creating 1,000 lines of code and rules about what it should not do and validating it, what if we have another AI review the SQL it generated? All AI calls are logged in logs and DB and shown via plugins. Like Brent showed us how, Brendan Pierce showed us how Airflow plugins have developed. So maybe we have a separate view in Airflow UI showing specifically around AI calls. Might be better for audits and any other wild ideas that you might have. So I will help Pavan explore this. I'm very excited about this. So I have some wild ideas that are not here, but we'll see. So if you have any other wild ideas, please do share. How to get involved. So Pavan already sent an email to the dev mailing list, which you can access using this fancy QR, or you just go to the dev airflow.apache.org and you will see his email in the first 5 emails where he sends out his proposal of what he wants to do. This has not yet been translated into an Airflow improvement proposal. We were waiting for this talk to talk to you guys before we can turn this prototype and the discussions that we have in this room and outside into an Airflow improvement proposal. So, which will happen very soon from Pavan. There's an Airflow 3 dev channel. You can reach out there or reach out to Pavan directly. He will be very excited to get your feedback. That there's his email and there's my email as well if you want to reach out to me.